Today I'd like to give you an insight on HDL. HDL stands for Hardware Description Language. We already know many types of languages, like the spoken language, that is like English and your native languages. All those are languages that we speak of. But the language that I'm talking about right now is not the spoken language, it is coding language. So in coding language, we are familiar with some coding languages like say C, Python, C++, all these are coding languages. But these come under a category actually known as software languages. These are all software languages, meaning that when you write the code, you are actually giving instructions to the CPU to execute some particular task. And that is what a software language does. But in case of HDL or hardware description language, the code describes hardware. That is, it describes the structure and behavior of logic circuits, that is the hardware itself. Those kind of codes or those kind of languages are referred to as HDLs, hardware description languages. So literally speaking, these languages describe hardware. Now what do I need in order to code a software language? I need logic, yes, that is something that we ourselves bring to the table, and of course I need knowledge of the language. That means I need knowledge of syntax, and this is about it. This is all that is required in order to do a software language code. But when I come to hardware description languages, I need logic, I need syntax, and I need something more, and that is called knowledge about the hardware. I need to know something about the hardware that I am coding. So I have more than just two requirements, I have three requirements. That is logic, syntax, and some knowledge about the hardware that we are going to code. So this is the difference between a software language and a hardware language. And we will be continuing with hardware languages. Okay. Now let me try to explain how a hardware language works, or how it is actually used to describe the hardware. Now think of this box that I've drawn here, this blue box that you see here, as a black box. What do I mean by a black box? What I mean is that whatever is inside the black box, we do not know. We do not know what is inside it, but we know what it does. As in, when you give certain inputs, input 1 and input 2, I get certain outputs, output 1 and output 2. This is known. I know what the black box does, but I have no idea how it does it. So I know what it does, but I do not know how it does it. So this kind of a black box can be described using a code, and that code is your hardware description language. Got it. Let me take a very simple example. Let's start at the basics. All of us know addition. Let me take the numbers as 56 plus 78. Here 6 and 8 are in the ones place. You add 6 and 8, and then you have a carry going on to the tens place, and then you add the carry with 5 and 7. This is very basic. So let us try and see what happens. 6 plus 8 is 14. So I have 4 and a carry, and that carry goes to the next place. You see 1 here. The next step is you have to add the tens place. In the tens place I have 5 and 7, and to that I have to add the carry. Since the carry from the previous stage is an input to the present stage, it is referred to as a carry in. So that is why I have marked it as a carry in. So 1 plus 5 plus 7 is 13. 3 remains in the tens place and 1 goes to the hundreds place. Since there is nothing in the hundreds place, there is only 1. All this is common knowledge for us. What do I call this 1 here? The digit that came in excess of the two places that we already had, that is called a carry out. That is a carry to the next stage. It is the carry out. Okay. So I can also say that 1 is actually the carry out of the first stage, and this 1 is the carry out of the second stage. I hope you got that. So let me brief it once more. 6 plus 8 is 14. I have 4 here and 1. 1 is a carry out of the first stage, that is a ones place, and 1 plus 5 plus 7 is 13. Where 1 is the carry out of the tens place. Since there is no more places, that means there is nothing in the hundreds place. Therefore, this 1 is the final carry out. Okay, so officially we call this guy as the carryout. That is why I have marked only this one as a carryout. I have not marked this one as a carryout. Okay, so that's how we do addition. Now I want a hardware that will actually implement this operation that we were talking about. The first operation that we needed was addition of the digits in the ones place. That means I need to add 6 and 8. I have only 2 inputs here, which means I need to make an adder which can add 2 digits, that is 6 and 8 are the inputs to that adder. Such kind of an adder is called a half adder. A half adder takes in 2 inputs. Let me call the inputs as A and B, or X or Y. And the outputs are sum. In this case, sum is 4. Output is sum, and it will have a carry out of its own. So let me call this as CO, carry out. This one is actually the CO of the first stage, so the carry out of that stage. So A and B added, and it provides a sum. Here that sum is 4 and the carry out is 1. Now let us go on to the tens place. In the tens place I have 3 inputs. The 3 inputs are 5 and 7 are the 2 digits, and I have an extra input which is now goes by the name carry in. So the next kind of an adder takes in 3 types of inputs, that is A, B. In this case A and B are 5 and 7, and the third input is a carry in. The carry in this case is 1. The output also goes by sum and carry out. In this case the carry out is the final carry out, therefore let's call it by the name carry out itself. Okay. This kind of an adder is called a full adder. F for F, F for full, and A for adder. So there are half adders and full adders. Look at this. You have a half adder here. The inputs are X and Y, and the output is sum and carry. Like we saw earlier, 6 and 8 are the inputs. The sum is 4 and the carry out is 1. So what I've done just now is I have described the behavior of the half adder and the full adder. With this knowledge, we can do an HDL. That means you can code an HDL, or hardware description language, using the knowledge of behavior of the unit. In our case, it is half adder and full adder. Another way you can do it is by knowledge of the structure, actual structure of the unit or module. In this case, you can see that inside the half adder there is an XOR gate and there is an AND gate. And knowing the connections, knowing the gates and the connections between them, and the connection between them and the inputs and outputs, you can actually code an HDL directly. So that way also we can approach HDL. Okay. This is the case of a full adder. Like we said earlier, A and B are the inputs. There is a carry in, there is an output, sum, and a carry out, which is the final carry out. In this way, we can again code or make an HDL code of a full adder. Many HDLs are available, like ISPS, JHDL, etc. ISPS is no longer available actually. JHDL stands for Java HDL. It is related to Java, yes. There is VHDL, there is Verilog, and many more are there. Now the most available and the most widely used, which is actually supported by the industry and otherwise, is VHDL and Verilog. These are the most widely used. So VHDL stands for VHSIC HDL. V itself stands for VHSIC, where VHSIC stands for Very High Speed Integrated Circuits, and of course HDL stands for Hardware Description Language. Another kind of HDL is Verilog. We will be studying Verilog here. Okay. Both VHDL and Verilog are IEEE standards. Which one you would prefer is a kind of individual preference. So both of them are IEEE standards and both of them can be learned easily. VHDL is supposed to have a better, is more structured and ordered kind of language. Verilog is ordained, is an easier kind of language, but ultimately it depends on the individual. So that's it about HDL. We just had a peek into the world of HDL. We understand what an HDL is and its relevance, and that's about it. So we will learn more about HDLs, actually Verilog in particular, in the ensuing videos, and I look forward to seeing you there. Okay. Thank you. Bye.